There are places in the Imperium where no sunlight has ever touched, where even the most devoted servants of the Emperor dare not tread. In the heart of Terra, beneath the endless layers of catacombs and fortified vaults, lies a network of chambers known only to a handful of souls. Here, in the deepest recesses of the Imperial Palace, far from the prying eyes of bureaucrats and generals, the true rulers of mankind hold their silent court. This is the Inquisition, the unseen hand of the Emperor, the shadow that moves behind every throne, the force that judges, condemns, and erases without hesitation. There is no greater authority in the Imperium. No planetary governor, no high lord, no chapter master of the Adeptus Astartes has power that can stand against an inquisitor's word. Their presence is not announced, their orders are not questioned, and their justice is absolute. The chamber in which they convene is older than any record can recall. Black stone quarried from a world that no longer exists lines the walls. Its surface is smooth yet lifeless, as if it refuses to reflect light. At the center, a great table stands carved from the bones of a long-forgotten beast, whether Xenos or human, none would say. Around it, figures in dark robes and austere armor sit in silent deliberation. No names are spoken, no rank is given. There is no ceremony, no ritual, no banners hanging to declare loyalty. The only thing that binds them is their purpose, to protect the Imperium, to ensure humanity's survival, no matter the cost. A vox screen flickers into life at the center of the chamber, displaying an intercepted message from a distant sector. A distress call, fragmented, filled with static and desperation. The words "demon incursion" crackle through the feed before the transmission abruptly ends. No one moves, no one speaks. The decision has already been made. An inquisitor seated near the end of the table taps a command into his data slate. Within moments, an order is issued to a distant Imperial Navy fleet. No ground forces will be deployed. No reinforcements will be sent. The planet is already lost. Exterminatus has been declared. Somewhere, light years away, an orbital bombardment begins. Cyclonic torpedoes pierce the upper atmosphere, detonating in bursts of atomic fire. Billions of souls perish in the blink of an eye. There is no warning, no evacuation. To the Inquisition, they were already dead. The chamber remains silent. No one will ever know what transpired here, what decision was made in the darkness to preserve the Imperium at the cost of an entire world. The records will not reflect it. The High Lords of Terra will not speak of it. The people of the Imperium will never know their fate was decided in a room they could never reach, by figures they would never see. This is the true power of the Inquisition. Its reach extends to every sector, every system, every world. Its agents move in secret, wielding authority so absolute that they can erase entire civilizations with a single word. To the common citizen, they are myths, whispered about in hushed voices, feared but never seen. To the planetary governors, they are the ultimate enforcers of the Emperor's will, their presence a sign of doom. To the enemies of mankind, they are death itself. It is said that in the Inquisition there are no heroes. There are no saints, no selfless warriors, no defenders of truth. There are only those who do what must be done. The burden of their work is heavy, the choices they make impossible, the line between righteousness and damnation so blurred that even they no longer know where it lies. But they do not hesitate. They cannot afford to. In the corridors of the Inquisition's hidden chambers, there is no place for weakness. There is no mercy, no compromise, no room for doubt. The galaxy is vast, and the threats against humanity are endless. The Imperium endures only because the Inquisition ensures that it does. The great table remains surrounded by shadows, the figures unmoving as the next report is brought forward. Another world, another potential corruption, another decision to be made. And as always, no one will ever know. The Inquisition was not born from triumph but from necessity. The Horus heresy had shattered the Imperium, leaving behind a scar that would never heal. The Emperor, once the guiding force of humanity, now sat entombed upon the golden throne, his body broken, his mind trapped between life and death. His dream of unity had crumbled, replaced by a galaxy of fear, suspicion, and ruin. In the aftermath, Malcador the Sigillite saw the truth. Horus had not fallen in a single moment, nor had the traitor legions turned overnight. The seeds of treachery had been planted long before the first shots were fired, festering in the dark, unnoticed by those who should have seen it coming. The Imperium had been blind. That mistake could never be repeated. As the High Lords of Terra argued over the Imperium's future, Malcador worked in secrecy, gathering those who understood what must be done. They were warriors, spies, and scholars, men and women who had seen the horrors of the heresy firsthand. They were not chosen for their purity, nor for their faith, but for their ruthlessness. They would do whatever was necessary to ensure that such betrayal never happened again. This was the birth of the Inquisition. Its first members were given absolute authority, free from the restraints that bound the Imperium's other institutions. No planetary governor, no chapter master of the Adeptus Astartes, no High Lord of Terra could stand against them. Their word was law, their actions unchallenged. If an inquisitor declared a man guilty of treason, he was executed. If an inquisitor deemed an entire world beyond salvation, it was destroyed. No hesitation, no mercy. The galaxy had nearly fallen once before. It would not happen again. At first, the Inquisition worked in complete secrecy. They operated from the shadows, moving unseen, rooting out those who would weaken the Imperium from within. Remnants of the traitor legions were purged without trial, their names erased from history. Imperial officials who had shown even a whisper of doubt during the heresy were quietly executed. No one was above suspicion. Even those who had fought for the Emperor, who had stood against Horus, were not safe. Loyalty was not proven by past deeds. It was proven again and again, in every action, in every breath. And those who faltered even slightly were removed. It was not justice, it was survival. As the years passed, the Inquisition's numbers grew, its influence expanding across the stars. It was no longer a hidden force, but a presence that could be felt, a silent spectre that loomed over the Imperium. A whispered rumor, a fleeting shadow in the corridors of power, a fear that even the most loyal servant could be watched. The Inquisition saw everything. Yet even among its own, divisions began to form. Some inquisitors believed that the key to victory lay in strict adherence to imperial doctrine. These were the Puritans, who would burn entire civilizations rather than risk corruption. Others, the radicals, believed that to defeat the enemy, one must understand it, even if that meant walking dangerously close to heresy. The war within had already begun. Malcador had foreseen this. He had known from the beginning that those with absolute power would eventually turn upon each other. But he had also known that there was no other way. The Imperium was too vast, too fragile. It needed an authority that was not bound by law or tradition, an authority that could make the choices no one else could make. And so, the Inquisition was unleashed. It became the final safeguard, the hidden blade at the Imperium's throat, ensuring that those who wavered, those who questioned, those who stood in the way of survival, were eliminated before their influence could spread. It did not matter if they were heretics, Xenos, or even loyal Imperial commanders. If they became a threat, they were erased. The burden of such power was secrecy and silence. The citizens of the Imperium would never know the wars fought in the dark, the worlds burned to stop a single whisper of treason, the billions who died so that others could live in ignorant devotion. They would only know the myths, the whispers of faceless figures who appeared without warning, who judged without hesitation, and who disappeared without a trace. The Inquisition's war never ended. The Imperium would never be safe. There would always be another enemy, another heretic, another threat rising in the shadows. And so the Inquisition endured. It had begun with the fall of one son. It would continue until there were none left to fall. The Inquisition stands apart from the Imperium it serves. It does not swear fealty to any high lord, nor does it recognize the authority of planetary governors, admirals, or chapter masters. Even the most powerful commanders of the Imperium must bow before the decree of an Inquisitor. They are beyond reproach, beyond limitation, beyond law itself. Their mandate is simple, yet terrifying in its scope, to protect humanity, even from itself. No enemy is too vast, no threat too small, no price is too high. Inquisitors have no armies, yet entire fleets bend to their will. They have no throne, yet can decide the fate of worlds. They are neither kings nor gods, yet they wield power that makes them greater than both. Few see them coming. Fewer still live to tell the tale. The sheer authority of an Inquisitor is absolute. It does not matter if a governor has ruled a world for centuries, if an Astra Militarum commander has led a crusade in the Emperor's name, if an Astartes chapter master has won 100 wars. If an Inquisitor deems them a threat, they will be removed. No trial, no appeal, no mercy. The moment an Inquisitor arrives, fear follows. The people of the Imperium do not understand the Inquisition, nor are they meant to. To the common citizen, an Inquisitor is a figure of legend, a whispered ghost in the corridors of power. Stories abound of mysterious figures who appear in the night, of entire families vanishing, of entire cities erased from existence, all because someone, somewhere, had spoken words they should not have known. Governors pray that they never draw an Inquisitor's gaze. Commanders fear the day their loyalty is questioned. Because when an Inquisitor speaks, the Imperium obeys. Their authority is derived from a singular truth. The Imperium cannot survive without them. It is too vast, too fragile, too riddled with enemies that lurk beneath its surface. The Imperium cannot afford to be reactive. It must strike first, before the wound is made. And so, the Inquisition acts. It operates in the shadows, making the decisions no general dares to make, enforcing the laws no planetary ruler dares to uphold. If a world is falling to heresy, they do not send reinforcements. They send fire. If an Imperial commander hesitates at a crucial moment, they do not allow for correction. They eliminate the weakness. Survival demands it. The Imperium tells its citizens that their faith will protect them, that as long as they worship the Emperor, they are safe. This is a lie. The Inquisition knows the truth. Faith alone will not stop the Xenos that burrow into the underhives, will not root out the cults that whisper in the dark, will not silence the rogue Psykers who open doors that should never be opened. Faith is a tool, a weapon to keep the masses obedient. But fear is what keeps the Imperium alive. An Inquisitor is judge, jury, and executioner, and they do not hesitate. They cannot afford to. For every moment spent deliberating, another world is lost. Another corruption takes root. Another threat festers. Hesitation leads to death. And so, they act. They arrive without warning. They do not explain themselves. Their interrogations last for days, for weeks, however long it takes to uncover the truth. Entire noble houses have been purged for a single misplaced whisper. Whole planetary governments have been erased because an inquisitor saw the first signs of an unseen infection. It does not matter if the evidence is circumstantial. It does not matter if the accused have served the Imperium loyally for centuries. Doubt is enough. Because in the Inquisition, there is no such thing as innocence. There is only the possibility of guilt. This is why they are feared. This is why their authority is absolute. And this is why, when the Imperium speaks of its rulers, it does not speak of the High Lords of Terra. It does not speak of its generals, nor its priests, nor even the Adeptus Astartes. It speaks of the Inquisition. Because where the Inquisition walks, the Emperor's will is made manifest, even if he never speaks it aloud. The Inquisition is not a single, unified force. Though it serves the Imperium with unquestionable authority, it is fractured, divided into factions that share the same mandate, but differ in their beliefs, their methods, and the enemies they fight. Each war they wage is one that can never be won, only endured. There are three great arms of the Inquisition, known as the Ordos Majoris. Each exists to combat a particular threat that, if left unchecked, could doom humanity. Some hunt the heretic, others battle the alien, while others face the horrors of the warp itself. Each believes their war is the most important. Each believes that, without their vigilance, the Imperium would collapse. The Ordo Hereticus stands against treachery from within. They are the ones who hunt rogue Psykers, the unfaithful, the blasphemers, the cultists who whisper in the dark. They are the enforcers of imperial purity, ensuring that mankind does not stray from the Emperor's path. They wield the authority of the ecclesiarchy, working alongside the Adepta Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle, whose faith is as unyielding as the bolters they carry. For the Ordo Hereticus, doubt is the first step toward heresy, and heresy is the first step toward damnation. They do not wait for proof. They do not allow the seeds of corruption to take root. If a single spark of treachery is found, they burn the entire house to the ground. Their presence is feared across the Imperium. When an inquisitor of the Ordo Hereticus arrives on a world, it is not to investigate. It is to judge. Their interrogations are brutal, their methods without mercy. They do not seek confessions. They already know the truth. They are relentless in their mission, for they believe that humanity's greatest enemy has never been the Xenos or the demon, but itself. The Ordo Xenos fights a war that most citizens of the Imperium will never know exists. While the people of mankind are taught that the alien is weak, that humanity is superior to all other races, the Ordo Xenos knows the truth. Beyond the Imperium's borders lurk horrors that would consume mankind in an instant. The Tyranids, a vast and insatiable hunger that strips entire galaxies bare. The Necrons, deathless machines who ruled the stars long before mankind first gazed at the heavens. The Aeldari, an ancient and fading race whose hidden manipulations stretch across millennia. And the countless other xeno-species that seek to carve out their own place in the void, indifferent or hostile to humanity's existence. The Ordo Xenos fights not with faith, but with knowledge. They are spies, assassins, infiltrators. They gather intelligence, root out alien influence before it takes hold, and act long before a threat becomes known to the wider Imperium. Some within their ranks go further, using the weapons and technology of the Xenos against them. To do so is dangerous. To do so is heresy. And yet some believe that the survival of mankind is worth any sin. The Ordo Malleus fights an enemy that most men do not even know exists. It is the war that cannot be spoken of, the battle against nightmares made manifest. They do not fight men, they fight demons. They alone stand against the horrors of chaos, the entities that lurk within the warp, the great enemy that seeks to consume reality itself. To fight such beings, they wield weapons that would break lesser men. They work alongside the Grey Knights, warriors whose very existence is a secret, whose souls are reinforced to resist the whispers of the warp. Even among the Inquisition they are feared, for their methods often bring them dangerously close to the very corruption they seek to destroy. Some have fallen, believing that chaos must be understood to be defeated. Others have sacrificed entire sectors to prevent a single demonic incursion, believing that the deaths of billions are a small price to pay for ensuring the Imperium's survival. Though all three Ordos serve the Emperor, they are not allies. The Ordo Hereticus views the Ordo Xenos with suspicion, seeing their willingness to study alien technology as reckless, if not outright treasonous. The Ordo Xenos believes the Ordo Hereticus to be blind, fanatics who would rather burn knowledge than use it. The Ordo Malleus sees both as ignorant, for only they truly understand the war that is being fought beyond mortal sight. The Inquisition does not fight as one. It is a fragile alliance of those who believe they are the last line of defense against an Imperium that does not even realize it is always on the brink of destruction. They do not see themselves as heroes, nor do they seek recognition. They do what must be done, no matter the cost. This is the burden of the Inquisition, to fight wars that will never end, to make decisions that will never be known, to sacrifice all so that the Imperium endures. There is no greater crime than heresy. The Imperium survives not on diplomacy, nor on reason, but on faith, unyielding, unquestionable, absolute. The Ordo Hereticus ensures that this faith remains unbroken. It exists to watch, judge, and burn those who stray. Heresy begins as a whisper, a moment of doubt, a fleeting thought. A single mind turned against the Emperor can spread like a plague, corrupting others, undermining the Imperium's foundations. The heretic, the blasphemer, the rogue psyker, the apostate priest, all must be eradicated before their infection spreads. The Ordo Hereticus does not fight wars against Xenos or demons. Their war is within the Imperium itself, waged in the streets of hive cities, in the temples of the ecclesiarchy, in the minds of those who should never question. Their enemies do not come from beyond the void. Their enemies wear the faces of men. Wherever they go, fear follows. When an inquisitor of the Ordo Hereticus arrives on a world, the people know something has already gone wrong. They do not investigate, they judge. They do not ask, they demand. There are no warnings, no appeals, no trials, only interrogations, confessions, and execution. Their reach extends deep into the ranks of the ecclesiarchy, the vast religious machine that governs faith across the Imperium. The priests, confessors, and cardinals watch for weakness, for deviations in doctrine, for the first signs of rebellion. They report to the Ordo Hereticus, guiding them to where faith has begun to crack. When the Inquisition requires warriors, they call upon the Adepta Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle. Clad in power armor, wielding bolters and flame, they enforce the Emperor's will with holy fury. Their faith is as unbreakable as their armor, their devotion as pure as the fire they use to cleanse the wicked. They burn the unclean, drive stakes through the faithless, and purge entire cities in the name of righteousness. Faith is more than belief, it is a weapon. Heresy takes many forms, and the Ordo Hereticus hunts them all. Rogue Psykers, whose uncontrolled minds invite the horrors of the warp. Apostates, who twist the Emperor's word to suit their own desires. Cultists, who gather in secret, who worship things they cannot possibly understand. None can be suffered to live. Their interrogations are brutal, their methods without mercy. They do not seek confessions. They already know the truth. Those found guilty are burned, their ashes scattered so that no trace of their corruption remains. Those who refuse to confess suffer worse fates. If a single spark of treachery is found, they burn the entire house to the ground. Entire worlds have been purged at their command. It is not enough to remove the heretic if the heresy has already spread. If a world begins to fall, it is burned from orbit, its people sacrificed in their billions, so that their corruption does not infect others. It does not matter if some were innocent. Innocence proves nothing. Fear is necessary. Fear keeps men from questioning, from seeking the forbidden, from opening doors that must remain closed. The people of the Imperium do not need to understand the work of the Inquisition. It is enough that they fear it. It is enough that they look upon the black-robed figures of the Ordo Hereticus and know that to waver, even for a moment, is death. Among their ranks, some take their duty even further. They do not wait for heresy to be spoken. They hunt it in thoughts, in the hesitation of a man as he recites the Emperor's creed. They believe that every man is guilty, that all carry sin within them, and that the only salvation lies in absolute obedience. Not all within the Inquisition agree with their methods. Some believe the Ordo Hereticus burns too eagerly, that they destroy more than they protect. Some whisper that their fanaticism weakens the Imperium more than any heretic ever could. But these voices are few, and they are swiftly silenced. The Ordo Hereticus cannot afford to hesitate. Heresy must be crushed before it festers into something that no force can contain. There is no end to their work, for the Imperium itself breeds its own enemies. Where faith is strong, there will always be those who seek to twist it. Where order is absolute, there will always be those who seek to rebel. And so the fires continue to burn. A man may think himself loyal. He may live his entire life in service to the Emperor, believing his faith to be pure, but loyalty is not his to decide. The moment he hesitates, the moment he falters, the moment someone begins to question, his fate is sealed. He will be taken, his life unmade, his body burned, his memory erased. It does not matter if he was innocent. It does not matter if he never strayed. Because in the Imperium, no one is innocent. And the Ordo Hereticus ensures that all who falter are condemned. The Imperium teaches its people that mankind is superior to all other forms of life, that the alien is weak, inferior, doomed to extinction before the might of humanity. This is a lie. The Ordo Xenos knows the truth. The galaxy is filled with horrors beyond comprehension. The Xenos races are not mere vermin to be crushed beneath the boot of the Imperium. They are ancient, powerful, and in many cases, they are winning. Some wish only to consume. Others wish to dominate. Some are beyond understanding entirely, their motives unknowable. But all, in some way, are a threat. The Imperium cannot afford to fight all its enemies at once. Its armies are vast, but its resources are stretched thin across thousands of war zones. If mankind is to survive, the Imperium cannot simply wage war. It must strike first, before the threat is fully realized. This is the duty of the Ordo Xenos. They operate in secrecy, waging a war that few will ever know. While the Astra Militarum fights brutal campaigns against the Orcs, while the Adeptus Astartes launch crusades against the Tyranids, the Ordo Xenos fights in the dark, long before the enemy ever reaches the battlefield. They seek out Xenos' influence wherever it takes root. Not all threats come in the form of open war. Some begin with a whisper, a slow corruption that burrows into the fabric of human civilization, a rogue trader dealing in forbidden alien relics, a planetary governor who believes an alliance with the Eldari will ensure peace, a cult of fools who seek enlightenment from the Tau. These are the dangers that can unravel entire worlds. When the Ordo Xenos arrives, they do so without warning. Their agents embed themselves in the highest ranks of planetary command, infiltrate noble houses, watch from the shadows for the first signs of alien corruption. They do not wait for proof. They act. In a single night, a planetary government can be erased, its leaders assassinated, its records wiped from existence. Those who have allowed Xenos' influence to take root are removed before their heresy can spread. There are no trials, no declarations, no announcements. There is only the quiet efficiency of an Inquisitor's hand. Not all within the Ordo Xenos agree on how best to wage this war. Many fight as Puritans, believing that no Xenos technology should ever be used, that all alien knowledge is a corruption that must be burned. But others, the radicals, see things differently. There are those who have studied the technology of the Necrons, seeking to unlock their terrible secrets. There are those who have bargained with the Eldari, using their foresight to avert greater disasters. Some have even used the weapons of the enemy, wielding alien artifacts to destroy threats that would otherwise be unstoppable. To many within the Inquisition, this is heresy of the highest order. To the radicals, it is necessity. The Imperium is vast, but it is also fragile. To reject knowledge simply because it is alien is to allow humanity to remain blind. If an Inquisitor must make use of a Xenos device to prevent the destruction of an entire sector, is that not an acceptable price to pay? If working alongside an Eldari Farseer ensures that an entire world does not fall to chaos, is it not worth the risk? Many within the Ordo Xenos believe there is no line between salvation and damnation, only survival. Those who go too far are often hunted by their own kind. More than one Inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos has been declared excommunicate traitoris, hunted down by their former allies for delving too deeply into the knowledge they once sought to destroy. Some vanish entirely, slipping into the darkness, continuing their work in secret. Few Inquisitors of the Ordo Xenos die peacefully. It is a war fought in the shadows, a war where the greatest victories are never known, where the price of failure is not a single battle lost, but the slow, silent erasure of humanity itself, and it is a war that will never end. The Imperium does not speak of demons. It does not write of them in its records, nor does it allow its citizens to know their names. To acknowledge them is to invite them. To understand them is to risk corruption. The people of the Imperium believe that faith alone will protect them from the horrors of the Immaterium. They do not know the truth. The Ordo Malleus does. For 10,000 years, the Ordo Malleus has waged a war unlike any other. They do not fight mortal enemies. They do not hunt Xenos, nor do they seek out traitors within the Imperium. They battle something far worse. They battle the nightmares of reality itself. Demons are not bound by the laws of physics, nor do they march upon the battlefield as mortal soldiers do. They are lies made flesh, malevolence given form. They are creatures that do not simply kill, but consume, feeding on the minds and souls of those who dare to glimpse beyond the veil. They are war itself, and they can never be defeated. The Ordo Malleus does not exist to destroy chaos, for such a thing is impossible. The gods of the warp are eternal, fed by the emotions of every soul in existence. Instead, the Ordo Malleus contains the threat, ensuring that the madness beyond the veil does not spill forth and consume the galaxy. They hunt cults that whisper to the warp. They obliterate sorcerers who dare to wield powers beyond mortal comprehension. They silence those who have seen too much. They are the final defense between mankind and damnation. The Ordo Malleus does not fight this war alone. In the endless battle against chaos, they have one ally, the Grey Knights. Unlike the Space Marines, the Grey Knights were not created to conquer. They were not meant to defend imperial worlds or expand the Emperor's domain. They exist for one purpose alone, to destroy demons. Their very existence is a secret. To most of the Imperium, they do not exist at all. Their names are not spoken, their victories are never recorded. Even those they save are never allowed to remember them. When a Grey Knight fights, all who witness them are purged. Their work is too important, too dangerous. Knowledge of their order could lead to curiosity, and curiosity is the first step toward ruin. Their gene seed is untainted. Their souls are warded against the warp. Their armor is inscribed with sigils of purity, their weapons crafted to cut through the flesh of demons as though they were nothing. They do not falter. They do not fall. And yet even the Grey Knights are not immune to the whispers of chaos. For all their purity, for all their strength, they still hear the voices. The warp is insidious. It waits, patient, endless. Even the most righteous can be twisted. Even the strongest mind can be made to break. Many within the Ordo Malleus have spent their lives studying chaos, believing that knowledge is the key to its defeat. Some believe that by wielding the enemy's weapons, by using the powers of the warp against itself, they can turn the tide. Many of these men do not survive long. Some are executed by their fellow Inquisitors before their descent can begin. Others vanish, slipping into the darkness, turning their backs on the Imperium to pursue the forbidden knowledge they once sought to destroy. But some remain, walking the razor's edge between salvation and damnation, knowing that if they fall, they will be the very thing they once hunted. The Ordo Malleus does not speak of those who have turned. They do not record their names. But the war they fight is endless, and chaos is patient. No one is incorruptible, not even an Inquisitor. For 10,000 years, the Ordo Malleus has kept the Imperium from being consumed. They have fought battles that will never be known, saved worlds that will never realize they were in danger. They have walked the depths of the immaterium, glimpsed horrors that would shatter lesser minds, and returned. But they do not return whole. Every battle costs them something. Every war leaves a scar. And they know in the end that chaos can never truly be destroyed. It can only be held back. There is no justice in the Inquisition, only certainty. When an Inquisitor's gaze falls upon a world, upon a city, upon a single soul, the outcome is already determined. The accused are not brought before courts. There are no trials, no defense, no chance to plead for mercy. The Inquisition does not seek truth in the way mortal men understand it. Truth is fragile, mutable, shaped by perception and emotion. The Inquisition does not deal in perceptions. It deals in absolutes. An Inquisitor's word is final, their suspicion alone enough to condemn a life, a city, a planet. Those who find themselves within the grasp of the Inquisition are already guilty. The only question that remains is how deep the corruption goes. The accused are taken to places no one will ever see. They are pulled from their homes, from their places of work, from their battlefields, and dragged to chambers where the light is cold and the walls are silent. No prayers will save them. No pleas will be heard. No one outside these walls will ever know what happened to them. There is only interrogation. It is not conducted to determine guilt. That was decided the moment the Inquisition arrived. It is conducted to extract information. to uncover the hidden rot that lurks beneath the surface. A man may claim to know nothing, to have done nothing, to be a loyal servant of the Emperor, but innocence is irrelevant. The fate of those accused is often grim. The Inquisition's methods are beyond imagining, designed not to punish, but to reveal. They wield pain as a tool, not as a weapon. The human mind is fragile, and it will break. The only question is how long it takes. There are no limitations to the techniques used. The Psykers of the Inquisition peel apart memories like parchment, tearing through the layers of a man's mind until nothing remains hidden. The most advanced machines forged in the depths of the Imperium's secretive forges extract confessions from the very essence of a soul. Some methods are more primitive: razors, fire, pain beyond comprehension. All are effective. Some break quickly, others resist, but all will confess. It is not uncommon for an accused heretic to die long before their final confession is given. Some are reduced to lifeless husks, their bodies burnt out from the strain of psychic invasion, their flesh consumed by the agony of their own betrayal. Others simply cease to be themselves, their minds shattered so completely that they no longer remember who they once were. These are not counted as failures. The information they gave, whether in screams or in the depths of their ruined minds, is enough. Confession is inevitable. What follows is execution. The guilty do not live. They are erased, their bodies incinerated, their records purged, their names never spoken again. In the eyes of the Inquisition, they never existed. Their families will not know their fate. Their comrades will be told nothing. There are no exceptions. A man may have lived his life in service to the Imperium. He may have fought its wars, may have bled for the Emperor, may have given everything in the name of humanity's survival. It does not matter. If he is deemed a risk, if he is suspected, he is already dead. Even those found to be innocent are not spared. To have been taken by the Inquisition is to know too much. A prisoner who has seen the chambers of interrogation, who has glimpsed the darkness within the Imperium's heart, cannot simply be released. The knowledge they now carry is a wound, and a wound left untreated will fester. Some are executed simply because their minds are no longer useful. Others are given to the black ships, lost forever within the endless tide of Psykers, destined to be consumed by the Golden Throne. Some are turned into servitors, their bodies repurposed into mindless machines that will never again hold dangerous thoughts. A rare few are recruited. The Inquisition is always in need of new agents, of those who have seen the truth and survived. But those chosen are no longer who they once were. Their pasts are stripped away. They are reforged, reshaped, turned into weapons. There are no survivors of an inquisitorial interrogation, only the dead, the forgotten, and the damned. The people of the Imperium do not know of these things. They must not know. They believe in the Emperor, in the righteousness of his will, in the idea that faith and loyalty will protect them. The Inquisition ensures they continue to believe. Fear keeps them in line. Fear keeps them from asking too many questions. And so the cycle continues. For as long as the Imperium endures, so too will the Inquisition. The interrogations will never end. The accusations will never cease, because there will always be another heretic to burn. The Imperium of man is built upon sacrifice. It demands obedience, suffering, and blood. But there is one sacrifice that is greater than all others, a sacrifice that sustains the very heart of the Imperium itself. Every year, across thousands of worlds, the Inquisition enforces a silent, terrible duty, the Tithe of Psykers. They come from every corner of the Imperium, from the sprawling hive cities, where hidden mutants are torn from the gutters, from the noble palaces of ruling dynasties, where a cursed bloodline is revealed in a newborn child. From the war fronts, where an officer's sudden, unnatural insight exposes him as something more than human. They are gathered, shackled, and taken away. This is the work of the Black Ships, a fleet that exists outside of the Imperium's sight, yet whose presence is known by all. Their arrival is never met with celebration. No one watches them descend upon their world with relief. When the Black Ships come, they take, and those taken never return. The great tithes are conducted with ruthless efficiency. The Inquisition does not ask for volunteers. There is no regard for age, status, or loyalty. If one is born a Psyker, their fate is already decided. The vast majority are too dangerous to live. Their uncontrolled minds are beacons to the warp. Their mere existence a threat. And so, they are sent to the Emperor. No one outside the Inquisition and the Adeptus Astra Telepathica knows what truly happens aboard the Black Ships. What is known is that most of those taken will never again see the light of any world. Their lives are not their own. They are mere fuel for the Golden Throne, their souls consumed to keep the Emperor alive. Without them, the Astronomicon would darken, the Emperor's body would fail, the Imperium itself would be lost. It is estimated that thousands of Psykers are sacrificed every day. The process is not painless. To be fed into the Golden Throne is to have one's soul torn apart, slowly, painfully, until nothing remains. The horror is beyond description, yet it is necessary. Without it, the Imperium would collapse, and humanity would be cast adrift, blind in the void, doomed to extinction. This is the price that must be paid. Yet, not all who board the Black Ships are sacrificed. A small number, those who prove strong enough, controlled enough, are spared. These are sent to the Scholastica Psychona, where they will either become sanctioned Psykers, servants of the Astra Militarum, or bound as astropaths, their souls seared by the Emperor's light, so they may serve as conduits for interstellar communication. A select few, rarer still, are taken by the Inquisition. There are Psykers whose talents are too unique, too powerful, to be wasted in mere servitude. These individuals are removed from Imperial records, their pasts erased. They are trained, conditioned, broken, and reforged into something else. Some become interrogators, using their abilities to extract truth from the minds of the accused. Others are transformed into inquisitors themselves, wielding their psychic power in service of a cause they barely understand. And then there are the ones taken for darker purposes. There are Psykers who are too dangerous to be allowed to live, but too valuable to be cast away entirely. These individuals are bound into horrific servitude, turned into weapons against their own kind. Some are lobotomized and shackled, their power leashed by cybernetic control, turned into sanctioned abominations that the Imperium dares not speak of. Others are entombed within dreadnought-sized containment cells, their vast psychic potential harnessed to power arcane war machines or fuel forbidden rituals. The most terrifying of all are the null-collar Psykers, those whose abilities are so extreme that they are locked within labyrinthine prisons beneath Terra itself, their existence known only to the highest ranks of the Inquisition. They are never allowed to awaken fully. If they did, entire sectors might burn. The people of the Imperium do not know of these things. They only know that Psykers are dangerous, that they are to be feared, shunned, hated, and they know that should one be discovered among them, they will be taken. The Black Ships will come, and the Imperium will feed upon its own to survive. The Inquisition stands as the ultimate authority in the Imperium, unbound by law, answerable only to itself. Its mandate is simple, to protect humanity, no matter the cost. But within its ranks, there is no unity. There is no shared vision of how best to achieve this goal. The Inquisition is a house divided, locked in an eternal war between two opposing ideologies, the Puritans and the Radicals. Both sides believe they serve the Emperor's will. Both see themselves as the true defenders of mankind. But their views on how that war should be fought could not be more different. The Puritans are the zealots, the unyielding enforcers of imperial doctrine. To them, the Emperor's laws are absolute. The enemies of mankind must be destroyed without hesitation, without question, without compromise. Xenos are to be eradicated. Psykers must be controlled or purged. Chaos must be obliterated wherever it is found, without exception. The Imperium's survival depends on its purity, and to taint oneself with the tools of the enemy is to risk damnation. To a Puritan there is no such thing as a necessary evil. There is only evil, and it must be burned away before it spreads. Puritans believe that compromise is the road to ruin. They look upon the Radicals as heretics in waiting. Their reckless methods are danger not only to the Imperium, but to reality itself. A true servant of the Emperor does not study chaos. He destroys it. A true Inquisitor does not negotiate with Xenos. He exterminates them. A true defender of mankind does not wield the enemy's weapons. He ensures they are cast into oblivion. Yet for all their faith, for all their rigid devotion, Puritans have failed before. It was not ignorance that doomed the Imperium during the Horus heresy. It was blind faith, a refusal to see the corruption growing in the heart of the Imperium until it was too late. And so the Radicals exist to ensure that mistake is never made again. Radicals do not see themselves as heretics. They see themselves as realists. They understand that the Imperium does not have the luxury of fighting its enemies with honor. They know that humanity is weak, that it is outnumbered, that the Imperium stands on the brink of extinction with every passing day, and they will do whatever it takes to ensure that it survives. To a Radical, knowledge is power. They seek to understand the Xenos, not simply to destroy them, but to use their weapons against them. They employ alien technology, wield forbidden sciences, and infiltrate the hidden societies of non-human civilizations. To the Puritans, this is heresy. To the Radicals, it is the only way to fight smarter, to fight better, to win. And then there are the greatest sins of all, the study of chaos, the use of its power against itself. There are those within the Inquisition who believe that chaos cannot be truly defeated by ignorance alone, that in order to destroy the enemy, one must first understand it. They have delved into the blackest tomes, sought out artifacts of incredible power, harnessed warp energy to fuel their own war. They do not see themselves as corrupted. They see themselves as masters of the darkness, wielding it as a weapon against the very forces they fight. Most who take this path do not survive long. Some vanish entirely, slipping into the shadows, their names erased from history. Some are declared traitors, hunted by their former allies before their descent can be completed. Others, the worst of them, do not fall into chaos. They become it. And so, the war within the Inquisition continues. It is not a war fought with armies. It is fought in whispered accusations, in silent assassinations, in hidden conflicts that the Imperium will never see. Radical inquisitors vanish, hunted by their Puritan counterparts before their methods can be revealed. Puritan inquisitors disappear under mysterious circumstances, their fates lost to history. To be a radical is to walk the edge of the abyss, knowing that at any moment a misstep could bring ruin. To be a Puritan is to believe that no price is too high to keep the Imperium pure, even if it means slaying their own. And to be an Inquisitor is to know that in the end, The enemy will not destroy the Inquisition. The Inquisition will destroy itself. The Inquisition is a weapon of absolute authority. It stands beyond the law, answerable to no one but itself. Inquisitors hold the power to shape the fate of worlds, to command entire fleets, to execute planetary governors and Astartes alike. But such power, wielded without oversight, leads to inevitable conflict. The enemies of the Inquisition are not only the heretics, the Xenos, and the demons that threaten mankind. More often than not, an Inquisitor's greatest adversary is another Inquisitor. There is no unity within the Inquisition. It is not a singular force working in perfect coordination, but a fractured, warring collection of individuals, each convinced that their vision is the one true path. Their rivalries do not end in debate, nor are they settled through negotiation. They end in blood. There are no rules to these hidden wars. There are no great battles, no formal declarations. There is only silence, the quiet extermination of those deemed too dangerous to be allowed to continue their work. One day, an Inquisitor is a respected figure within the Ordo Xenos, working to combat an emerging Xenos threat. The next, he is simply gone, his records erased, his deeds forgotten, his name stricken from Imperial archives. It is not war in the conventional sense, but assassination, sabotage, and betrayal. Radicals and Puritans are forever at odds. A radical may seek knowledge that others believe to be too dangerous, may experiment with forbidden weapons, may push the boundaries of what it means to be human. A Puritan sees only a growing heretic, an infection that must be cut away before it spreads. And so, the Puritan acts, a hired blade, a manipulated agent, a whisper to an assassin of the Officio Assassinorum. The radical never sees it coming. But for every Puritan who succeeds in eliminating what they see as corruption, a radical sees an enemy who refuses to accept the truth. They see the Imperium slowly rotting beneath its own ignorance, see the great unyielding dogma that prevents true progress, and they move to eradicate the threat in their way. And so, the cycle continues. The Inquisition is full of corpses that will never be accounted for, wars that will never be recorded, and victories that no one will ever know. There is no monument to the fallen, no recognition for the dead. There is only a war with no end, where today's allies may be tomorrow's executioners. Some whisper that this war is more dangerous than any heretic or Xenos invasion. The Imperium fears chaos, yet it is the Inquisition that spills its own blood in the shadows. It is the Inquisition that removes its own, eliminating some of its brightest minds, erasing knowledge, cutting down those who might have saved mankind in their quest for survival. The war is fought in many ways. Some choose direct methods, deploying assassins, burning entire facilities to the ground, ensuring that the radical they hunt is reduced to ash and forgotten by history. Others are more insidious. An Inquisitor may be condemned not by a blade but by a whisper, their reputation dismantled, their authority revoked, their name dragged through the halls of the Inquisition as an example of what happens to those who stray too far. Many have fallen without ever knowing who moved against them. Even the High Lords of Terra fear the Inquisition for this reason. There is no institution more powerful, but there is also no institution more divided, more self-destructive, more consumed by its own endless conflicts. Some among the Inquisition claim that this is necessary, that the strong must rise and the weak must be purged. Others believe that the greatest danger to the Imperium is not the Xenos, nor the heretic, nor the demon, but the Inquisition itself. It does not serve the Imperium. It serves only its own competing ideologies. There is no true leadership within the Inquisition, no ultimate authority that governs its agents. Every Inquisitor is autonomous, operating as they see fit, answering only to their own vision of the Emperor's will, and when that vision clashes with another, war is inevitable. Some within the Inquisition have tried to bring order to the chaos, to unite its forces, to impose control over its endless division. None have succeeded. The moment one faction begins to rise, the others cut it down, seeing only tyranny in the making. They will not be ruled. They will not be bound. And so, the war in the shadows continues, a war where victory is meaningless, for there will always be another battle to fight, another enemy to silence, another Inquisitor who must be removed. In the end, the greatest question of the Inquisition is this: does it protect the Imperium, or is it slowly tearing it apart? No one knows the answer. Perhaps no one ever will. There are moments when the Imperium of man is forced to make a choice. Some threats can be hunted, rooted out, and purged with precision. Some wars can be won through sacrifice, through blood, through sheer determination. But there are times when the cost of saving a world is simply too high, when corruption has taken hold so deeply that no army, no force, no act of faith can cleanse it. In those moments, the Imperium does not hesitate. It chooses death. This is Exterminatus, the final sanction, the ultimate judgment, the death sentence carried out on a planetary scale. It is a decree that cannot be reversed, a fate that cannot be bargained with. When the order is given, an entire world ceases to exist, wiped from the stars as if it had never been. Only the most powerful voices in the Imperium may declare Exterminatus. Among them, the Inquisition holds the greatest authority. A single Inquisitor may, with one word, condemn billions to death. No council must be convened, no debate must be held. The order is given, and the world burns. There is no escape. The methods of Exterminatus vary, but all end in the same result. The most common is orbital bombardment, a relentless cascade of cyclonic torpedoes that crack the planet's crust, igniting its atmosphere, reducing its cities to molten slag. The firestorms that follow are vast enough to consume continents, the air itself turned into a burning wave of death. Some worlds are subjected to virus bombing, a far crueler fate. Lethal biological agents are deployed, spreading faster than any living creature can hope to flee. Within hours, every living thing is reduced to slurry, entire populations liquefied from the inside out. The virus itself then burns away, leaving behind nothing, not even bones, not even ruins, only silence. There are other methods, each more horrific than the last. Radiological cleansing, where the planet is bathed in hard radiation, ensuring that nothing can grow for 10,000 years. Tectonic destabilization, where planetary cores are shattered, breaking apart the world itself. Cyclonic implosion, where gravity itself is used as a weapon, crushing a planet into an airless, lifeless husk. No matter the method, the outcome is the same. The world dies, and its name is erased from imperial records. Exterminatus is not an act of rage. It is not declared out of vengeance nor out of spite. It is a calculated decision, an act of preservation through annihilation. It is carried out when there is no other choice. A planet infected by chaos cannot be allowed to exist. Once the taint has spread, once the corruption has taken root, there is no cure. The Emperor's armies may fight for days, for weeks, for years, but the battle is already lost. Chaos does not simply conquer. It transforms, reshapes, makes something new, something inhuman. If the Imperium hesitates, a world lost to chaos becomes a gateway, a foothold from which demons will pour into reality. The sacrifice of billions is nothing in comparison to what would follow. if such a world were allowed to fester. Other times, it is the Xenos who bring annihilation. The Tyranids, creatures of endless hunger, consume worlds whole, stripping them of biomass, reducing them to barren rock. If a world cannot be defended, it is better to destroy it than to allow it to fall into the enemy's grasp. Even simple rebellion, if left unchecked, may be met with Exterminatus. The Imperium cannot allow weakness. If a single world defies the Emperor's will, others may follow. When rebellion spreads, the Imperium does not negotiate. It does not offer second chances. It erases the problem before it can grow. Billions will die, but the Imperium will endure. For those below, death comes without warning. One moment, a world may be alive with industry, with faith, with war, with life. The next, the sky turns to fire. The ground trembles. The air becomes poison. There is nowhere to run. There is nowhere to hide. Entire cities are incinerated before their people even understand what is happening. Entire generations perish in the span of a heartbeat. There are no survivors of Exterminatus. No one is spared. No cries for mercy are heard. In the aftermath, the world is left in ruin. The Imperium does not grieve. The Imperium does not mourn. It simply moves on. Another battle, another war, another choice to be made, and when the time comes, another world will burn. The Inquisition does not wage war in the way the Imperium's great armies do. It does not call upon the Astra Militarum's endless legions or the vast fleets of the Imperial Navy. It does not march in formation, nor does it fight for honor. The Inquisition's war is one of silence, of precise and absolute violence, carried out by those who do not ask why, only who must die. For this, the Inquisition has its own warriors. The Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, also known as Tempestus Scions, are among the most disciplined and ruthless soldiers in the Imperium. Unlike the conscripted masses of the Astra Militarum, unlike the crude, brutal warriors of the penal legions, these men and women are selected from the Schola Progenium, raised from childhood to obey without hesitation. Their loyalty is absolute. Their purpose is singular. They are not an army. They are an instrument of the Inquisition's will. Where an Inquisitor needs force, where an order must be carried out without failure, these soldiers are deployed. They do not hesitate. They do not question. They do not falter. If their master commands them to storm a planetary governor's palace and execute every man, woman, and child within, they comply. If they are ordered to infiltrate a rogue trader's void ship, eliminate the crew, and wipe all records of its existence, they do so without pause. There is no room for doubt in their ranks. There is only the mission. These stormtroopers are not ordinary soldiers. They are trained in methods of war that few in the Imperium ever witness. They specialize in rapid infiltration, assassination, and urban warfare, capable of eliminating targets before a war even begins. When deployed en masse, they can cripple an enemy force before it has time to react. Their equipment is superior to that of the standard Imperial Guard. They wear carapace armor, reinforced against small arms fire, and carry hellguns, weapons that can punch through power armor with terrifying efficiency. They operate in units of precise discipline, each a perfect cog in the killing machine of the Inquisition. To the Imperium at large, they do not exist. They are not honored in great statues. Their names are never recorded. Their victories are never celebrated. When a world suddenly falls silent, when a noble house vanishes overnight, when a rebellion dies before it can begin, it is the stormtroopers of the Inquisition who have done their work. Their missions are many, but they always serve the same purpose: to enforce silence. The Inquisition's war is not only against the heretic, the Xenos, and the demon. It is against knowledge itself. There are things that mankind was never meant to know, truths that would shatter the fragile order of the Imperium. When such knowledge leaks into the wrong hands, when whispers of chaos, alien alliances, or secret wars begin to spread, the Inquisition acts. It does not negotiate. It does not issue warnings. It eliminates the source. A single word can be enough to justify execution. A single document, a single artifact, a single suspicion. The Inquisitorial Stormtroopers move under cover of darkness, their operations unseen. They break into archives and burn forbidden texts before they can be read. They execute scholars, priests, and even inquisitors who have learned too much. They do not hesitate. They do not leave witnesses. To serve as one of these warriors is to walk a path without glory. There are no medals, no ranks of prestige, no tales of heroism. There is only duty, and that duty is carried out until death takes them. Few live long in the service of the Inquisition. Their work is too dangerous, their enemies too many. Some are killed in the line of duty, their bodies left to rot in places no one will ever find. Others are executed by their own masters, for the knowledge they possess is too great a risk to be allowed to live. A stormtrooper does not retire. A stormtrooper does not leave the Inquisition's service. They fight until their usefulness ends, and when that day comes, they disappear. Their names erased, their existence forgotten. But the war they fought continues. For as long as the Inquisition endures, there will always be another enemy to silence, another heretic to eliminate, another truth too dangerous to be known. And the Inquisition will always have those willing to do what must be done. There are those within the Imperium who wield power beyond the grasp of mortals. Psykers channel the raw energy of the warp, their minds a conduit for forces both wondrous and terrifying. The Imperium relies upon them for its survival, its navigators guiding ships through the warp, its astropaths carrying messages across the void, its sanctioned Psykers turning the tide of battle. But with that power comes a terrible risk, for the warp is a fickle thing, and those who touch it are never truly free from its influence. Against this threat, the Inquisition employs a rare breed of individuals known as blanks, or pariahs, beings who do not merely resist the warp, but exist entirely outside it. Blanks are an anomaly, a biological aberration. Where Psykers are tied to the warp, their souls shining like beacons in the immaterium, a blank is nothing. They have no warp presence, no psychic signature. To a Psyker they are a void, an absence where there should be something. And that absence is terrifying. A blank's mere presence is enough to send waves of nausea and dread through even the most hardened Psyker. Their proximity silences warp-born abilities, rendering Psykers powerless, severing their connection to the immaterium as if cutting off the air they breathe. To demons, their presence is even worse, an agony that burns at the very essence of their existence. No warp entity can endure prolonged exposure to a blank. They are anathema to chaos itself. This makes them invaluable to the Inquisition. The Ordo Malleus deploys them in the war against the demonic, ensuring that no sorcery, no psychic assault, no power of the warp can protect those who consort with the great enemy. The Ordo Hereticus uses them to hunt rogue Psykers, placing them at the heart of interrogations where the accused's power is stripped away, leaving them helpless before their judges. Even the Ordo Xenos has use for them, for there are alien races whose entire existence is shaped by psychic energy, and against them, blanks are the perfect weapon. But their usefulness does not grant them acceptance. Even among the Inquisition's ranks, blanks are feared. Their presence is unsettling, even to those who are not Psykers. Something about them is wrong. something the human mind struggles to comprehend. People instinctively recoil from them, unable to feel warmth or connection in their presence. A conversation with a blank feels empty, as if speaking to something that is not truly there. This unnatural aura isolates them, ensuring that even their allies treat them as little more than tools to be used. They are kept at a distance, often living in solitude, avoided by the very people they serve. Inquisitors value them, but they do not trust them. Many blanks are gathered into specialized organizations, such as the Culexus Assassins, a faction within the Officio Assassinorum that hunts and eradicates Psykers. Where other assassins rely on precision and skill, a Culexus assassin is a walking nightmare. Clad in arcane, skull-faced helmets that amplify their already dreadful presence, they move unseen, instilling a mind-numbing terror in those they hunt. A Psyker caught in their grasp does not die quickly. They die screaming, their very souls unraveled, their essence consumed by the void that is a blank's existence. Not all blanks are turned into killers. Some serve as black sentinels, bodyguards to the highest ranks of the Imperium, protecting figures such as Lord Inquisitors and the High Lords of Terra from psychic attacks. Others are assigned to the black ships, their presence ensuring that the Psykers within remain weak, helpless, unable to escape their fate. But no matter their purpose, they will never be one of them. To be a blank is to be forever alone, to be feared by those they protect, to be despised even as they serve. Some go mad from the isolation, unable to endure the way people instinctively recoil from them. Some grow bitter, resenting the Imperium that sees them as nothing more than a necessary evil. And some simply vanish, slipping away into the void, their fates unknown. Yet despite the fear, despite the unease they bring, blanks are essential. Without them, the Imperium would have no defense against the warp's endless horrors. Without them, demons would walk freely, Psykers would reign unchecked, and the Imperium's enemies would wield power beyond reckoning. And so the Inquisition keeps them close, not as comrades, not as equals, but as weapons, held in reserve, waiting for the moment they are needed, until the day comes when the Inquisition will turn them loose upon the galaxy. The Inquisition does not rely on the tools of conventional warfare. It does not wage open battles in the streets of hive cities or on the blood-soaked fields of the front lines. Its enemies are often too insidious, too deeply entrenched, and too hidden to be dealt with by armies alone. Sometimes there is only one solution: silence. For when silence is needed, the Inquisition turns to the Officio Assassinorum. The Officio Assassinorum is an organization that exists as a shadow within the Imperium, an unacknowledged arm of the Inquisition, tasked with ensuring that when a threat must be eradicated, it is done quickly, quietly, and without fanfare. It is a network of the most deadly, most efficient killers in the galaxy, trained in the arts of assassination, sabotage, and infiltration. To the rest of the Imperium, the assassins are legends, mythic figures who operate in the darkest recesses of history. To the Inquisition, they are tools to be wielded without hesitation. The assassins are not part of the regular Imperial forces. They do not answer to commanders, to planetary governors, or even to the High Lords of Terra. They answer only to the Inquisition, carrying out its will with no question, no remorse, and no fear. Their mandate is absolute. Among the most notorious agents in the Officio Assassinorum are the four main temples: the Vindicare, Calidus, Eversor, and Culexus. Each temple specializes in a different type of assassination, each with its own methods, weapons, and tactics. Together, they form a deadly, multifaceted force that can eliminate any target, regardless of how well hidden, how well guarded, or how powerful. The Vindicare assassins are the master marksmen of the Officio. Trained in the use of the most sophisticated and deadly sniper weapons, they can strike from miles away, taking down their targets with pinpoint precision. Their weapons are capable of piercing even the thickest armor, and their aim is flawless, even in the most extreme conditions. A Vindicare's kill is clean, surgical, and irreversible. When the Inquisition needs a target to fall without a single sound, without a single trace, the Vindicare will make it so. The Calidus assassins are the infiltrators, the chameleons, the masters of disguise. Trained to blend into any environment, they can assume any identity, becoming anyone they need to be to get close to their target. Using their shape-shifting abilities, they can slip past the most hardened defenses, operating from within the enemy's ranks without ever being detected. Whether it is a governor, a general, or a corrupt member of the ecclesiarchy, the Calidus assassin can become the person they must kill, carrying out the assassination with cold precision. The Eversaw assassins are the most terrifying of the lot, the Berserkers. They are living weapons, genetically enhanced and driven by rage. They are trained for close-quarters combat, carrying weapons capable of turning a room full of enemies into a sea of blood. Eversaws are dispatched when a target is well guarded, when a fast, violent strike is needed to neutralize an entire group. They are often deployed in environments where there is no time for subtlety, no room for hesitation. When the Eversaw strikes, it is with a fury that cannot be contained. The Culexus assassins, though less known, are perhaps the most feared of all. They are nulls, individuals born without any connection to the warp, and their very presence is enough to suppress psychic powers and cause Psykers to feel physical pain. They are employed to kill those who wield warp energy, those whose very existence poses a threat to the Imperium, such as rogue Psykers, chaos cult leaders, and those who use the warp to conceal their power. The Culexus assassin is a blank space in the warp, and their mere proximity renders Psykers and demons helpless. For Psykers, the Culexus is an utterly terrifying figure, a walking nightmare capable of eliminating them without ever drawing a weapon. A single kill by an assassin is more effective than an entire army. The Inquisition has no need to engage in long, bloody battles when one well-placed strike can erase a threat in an instant. The assassination of a high-ranking official, a cult leader, or even a traitor within the Inquisition can unravel an entire web of conspiracy. One death can be the end of a war, a world saved without a single shot fired. Yet the use of assassins is not without consequence. Their very existence is a reminder that the Imperium is not a place of justice, but of survival. The price of victory is often unseen, the blood spilled by the assassins never acknowledged by those they protect. The Inquisition's work is not celebrated. It is carried out in silence, in shadows, in the knowledge that sometimes one death is worth 1,000,000 lives. And when silence must fall, the assassins will be there to carry out the will of the Inquisition, without hesitation, without mercy. The Inquisition is a power unlike any other in the Imperium. It is the final authority, unchallenged, above all other institutions. Inquisitors hold the power of life and death, the right to purge entire worlds, to issue decrees that can reshape the fate of billions. Their word is law, their judgment absolute. But even in such an unyielding force, there is one truth that cannot be ignored. Inquisitors are not infallible. The authority granted to an inquisitor is immense. They are agents of the Emperor's will, unbound by the normal rules of governance, able to act in secrecy, free from oversight. Yet, with such power comes a terrible responsibility, one that weighs heavily on the shoulders of those who hold it. Some rise to the task, maintaining the purity of their mission, their judgment never questioned. Others, however, falter, and when they do, the consequences can be catastrophic. Corruption is the most insidious of all threats. It does not always arrive in the form of visible betrayal. It often begins as a small crack in the mind of an inquisitor, a tiny misstep in judgment. The pursuit of knowledge, so vital to their work, can become a dangerous obsession, leading them down dark paths. The very power that makes them formidable can be the thing that consumes them. The allure of forbidden knowledge, the temptation to use the enemy's weapons to defeat them, is a constant temptation for the Inquisitor. Some, drawn by this power, may become no different from the very enemies they once hunted. There are radicals within the Inquisition, yes, but there are also fallens, those who cross the line and embrace chaos, alien ideologies, or unsanctioned practices. These inquisitors become a greater threat than any heretic or Xenos. They carry the Emperor's name, but their actions work against the very fabric of the Imperium. The difference between savior and destroyer is a razor-thin line, and for some, that line is crossed. There are others who are simply outmaneuvered. In the endless war that the Inquisition fights, its members are constantly navigating a web of intrigue, deception, and enemy scheming. Some inquisitors fall victim to the very forces they fight against, whether by treacherous Xenos or the whispers of chaos. A well-laid plan can be undone in a single moment of hesitation. In the midst of secrecy and power struggles, an inquisitor can find themselves blindsided, their entire operation dismantled by forces more cunning than they anticipated. The hidden wars within the Inquisition are as dangerous as any external enemy, and those who misstep within the Inquisition can often find themselves isolated, their allies turned against them, and their reputation torn apart. When an inquisitor fails, it is not merely a personal failure. It is a failure with consequences that ripple throughout the Imperium. Entire campaigns can be lost, worlds can fall, and the very survival of humanity can be jeopardized. It is a paradox, for the Inquisition exists to prevent such failures, yet it is these same inquisitors who, in their arrogance, can make mistakes that cost billions. The line between savior and tyrant is often defined by the outcome of a single decision, and the fallout from a failure can never be undone. The consequences of failure are not limited to strategic defeats or ruined missions. The Inquisition's power lies in its secrecy, its ability to act without fear of repercussions. But when an inquisitor fails, their missteps become public knowledge. A failed inquisitor, one whose actions have led to the death or corruption of countless innocents, can be hunted down by their peers. There is no quarter given. The very power they once wielded is turned against them, and they are treated as traitors, cast aside as dead weight to be discarded. The once feared inquisitor may find themselves in a desperate race to survive, hunted by those they once commanded. For every inquisitor who rises above their failings, for everyone who navigates the constant moral and ethical struggles with wisdom and caution, there is another who succumbs to the very forces they fought against. And in the end, the greatest danger to the Imperium may not be the external enemies it faces, but the internal rot that threatens to destroy it from within. When the Inquisition fails, the price is high. There is no turning back, no redemption for those who cross the line. The cost is paid in lives, in the very soul of the Imperium, in the precious time that slips away as failure mounts. The Inquisition is a weapon that cuts both ways. Those who wield it must constantly ask themselves whether the price they pay for power is worth the potential destruction it may cause. The Imperium survives in ignorance, its people blissfully unaware of the dark forces at play behind the veil that shields them. The Inquisition operates within this shadow, its actions hidden from the masses. It is a necessary evil, ensuring humanity's survival in a galaxy teeming with heresy, Xenos, and chaos. But to protect the Imperium, the Inquisition must act in secrecy. This secrecy is its greatest strength and its most dangerous flaw. The people of the Imperium live their lives under the assumption that their safety is guaranteed by their faith, their obedience to the Emperor, and the strength of the imperial institutions. They are never told of the countless threats kept at bay by the Inquisition, worlds destroyed, entire populations eradicated, enemies exterminated before they can even be seen. The Inquisition moves in silence, its work carried out in the dark, unseen by those it protects. The Imperium knows nothing of the sacrifices made in its name. But this ignorance is a double-edged sword. The Inquisition's work may keep the Imperium safe, but the price is steep. Billions die without their deaths being acknowledged. Entire worlds are purged to prevent the spread of heresy or the influence of Xenos. These lives, these worlds, are erased without fanfare, their existence wiped from the annals of history. The people of the Imperium never know the cost of their peace, for the Inquisition ensures that the truth is buried. The secrecy that shields the Imperium also breeds corruption. The Inquisition's unchecked authority allows it to act without oversight, to make decisions with no accountability. In the name of survival, it has crossed lines that cannot be uncrossed. What began as a necessary force for the protection of mankind has become a tool of control, one that silences dissent and crushes any threat, no matter how small. The more the Inquisition hides from the people, the more it risks becoming the very enemy it was meant to fight. In the shadows, the Inquisition has become a law unto itself, with power greater than any other institution. It is a force that can burn entire worlds, erase whole histories, and condemn billions to death without question. The price of this power is the secrecy that sustains it. The more the Inquisition operates in darkness, the more it becomes a force of oppression. The line between protector and tyrant becomes blurred, and the Imperium is left to wonder if the cost of survival is worth the price paid for it. The people of the Imperium are kept in the dark, but in that darkness, something festers. The Inquisition's secrecy allows corruption to take root, unchecked and unchallenged. The very thing that protects humanity, the willingness to hide the truth, also weakens the foundations upon which the Imperium stands. The truth, when it is inevitably revealed, will shatter the delicate peace the Inquisition has built. The people may find that the very force that safeguarded their existence is also the force that has tainted their soul. The cost of secrecy is high. The Imperium will never know how many have been lost, how many lives have been sacrificed in the name of its protection. But even in the face of these losses, the Inquisition cannot stop. It is a necessary evil, but it is an evil nonetheless. The line between righteousness and corruption is a fragile one, and the Inquisition walks it every day. Secrecy protects, but it also corrodes. The Inquisition may save humanity, but it may also be the force that ultimately destroys it. Inquisitors begin their careers as the Emperor's most loyal servants, driven by a singular purpose, to protect humanity from the horrors of the galaxy. Their mission is clear, and their faith is unshakable. But as they rise in power and responsibility, they are forced to make choices that blur the line between righteousness and cruelty. The Inquisition's work demands sacrifices, decisions that would break lesser men. An Inquisitor is tasked with eliminating threats to humanity, from rogue Psykers to traitors within the Imperium, and even the endless tide of Xenos and chaos. In their pursuit of these goals, they often find themselves caught between what is necessary and what is just. The line between the two becomes increasingly difficult to discern. To protect humanity, They must be willing to make harsh decisions. But how far can that willingness extend before they become the very thing they fight against? At first, an Inquisitor believes in absolute loyalty to the Emperor. Every action they take is justified by the greater good, the preservation of mankind. The lives they sacrifice are seen as a necessary evil, a means to ensure the Imperium's survival. But with each act of brutality, each life erased for the sake of survival, the Inquisitor's perspective shifts. The questions they once asked, whether an action is truly right or just, become less important. What matters now is the result, the end game, and whether it serves the Emperor's will. However, the consequences of such power can be devastating. The Inquisitor, once a servant of righteousness, risks becoming something darker. The corruption of absolute power, even in the service of the Emperor, is inevitable. What began as an effort to protect mankind slowly transforms into tyranny, where any means are justified by the end. The Inquisitor becomes convinced that their actions, no matter how cruel, are necessary for the survival of humanity. But this path often leads to a loss of humanity itself. The greatest danger is not the Xenos, chaos, or heresy. It is the inward corruption that arises when an Inquisitor loses sight of their own purpose. As they sacrifice more and more, the line between man and monster becomes imperceptible. They justify acts of violence, oppression, and cruelty in the name of the greater good, believing that the end justifies the means. They become the very tyrants they once sought to defeat. What was once a noble mission becomes an excuse to wield unchecked power. The question remains: how much cruelty is acceptable in the name of survival? How far can an Inquisitor go before they are no longer serving the Emperor, but becoming the monster they once opposed? The line between righteousness and tyranny is thin, and few Inquisitors escape the temptation to cross it. It is in this descent into darkness that the greatest danger to humanity lies, not from the enemies outside, but from those who once fought for the Emperor's will, only to lose their way. The Imperium is a vast and fragile construct, stretched thin across the stars, clinging to existence amidst endless enemies. Within this endless war, the Inquisition stands as humanity's last line of defense, the shadowed force that guards against threats so insidious, so pervasive, that no other power can hope to combat them. It is an institution built upon secrecy, power, and unwavering resolve, its methods brutal, its actions often unforgiving, but its purpose clear: to protect the Imperium, no matter the cost. Without the Inquisition, the Imperium would have long since fallen. The forces of chaos, the endless hordes of the Xenos, and the rampant heresy within its own ranks would have shattered the fragile peace that holds humanity together. In the harsh, unrelenting galaxy, there is no room for mercy. There is no space for hesitation or weakness. The threats that lurk in the darkness are unyielding, and without the Inquisition's iron hand, mankind would have been swallowed whole by its enemies. The Inquisition is not a force of heroes. It does not fight for glory, nor does it strive for recognition. Its role is to fight in the shadows, to wield its terrible authority to ensure humanity's survival in the face of overwhelming odds. No other organization within the Imperium possesses the knowledge, authority, or ruthlessness to combat the variety of threats that seek to destroy humanity. The Inquisition is necessary because it is willing to make the sacrifices that no one else will. It is willing to do the things that no one else can even fathom, to act in ways that others dare not. The war it fights is one of silence, shadows, and secret decisions. A war that the Imperium as a whole cannot afford to see. There is no room for compromise. The Inquisition's mandate is simple: to preserve the Imperium at any cost. It does not concern itself with politics, with diplomacy, or with the moral weight of its actions. When a planet falls to heresy, when a rogue Psyker threatens the safety of billions, when the forces of chaos break through the veil of reality, the Inquisition acts. There is no time for trial, no space for questions. There is only the greater good, the survival of the Imperium, and the eradication of those who would seek to destroy it. The Inquisition has no place for weakness, no room for doubt. Its members make decisions that others cannot, wielding their power as both shield and sword. Some may call the Inquisition a necessary evil, and in many ways they are right. The actions it takes, the lives it destroys, the worlds it condemns to save the greater whole, these are the costs of survival. Humanity's survival is ensured by the Inquisition's willingness to act where others would falter. Its methods are brutal, its decisions harsh, but they are vital. The Imperium cannot afford to question whether the ends justify the means when the very survival of mankind is at stake. The Inquisition operates in the grey spaces that others refuse to touch. It is willing to use the enemy's tools against them, to sacrifice those who might become a threat in the future, to burn away the rot before it has a chance to spread. Its operatives infiltrate, manipulate, and eliminate, leaving behind no trace of the enemy's influence. They are humanity's guardians, standing in the darkness where no one else dares to go. Without the Inquisition, there would be no one left to fight against the forces of chaos, the Xenos, or the insidious spread of heresy that would tear the Imperium apart from within. The question of whether the Inquisition is a force for good or evil is irrelevant. It is a necessary evil, one that humanity cannot live without. Its role is not to be questioned, but to be accepted as the harsh reality of the galaxy. The Inquisition does what must be done, even when the price is high, because the Imperium would never survive without it. Its enemies are many, and the cost of victory is steep. But the Inquisition's purpose remains clear, to ensure that humanity endures, no matter what. The Inquisition is not a force of heroes, nor is it the embodiment of villainy. It exists in a place beyond morality, a shadow that wields power in silence and secrecy. It is the blade at humanity's throat, a necessary instrument that ensures mankind's survival in a galaxy that shows no mercy. Its methods are as brutal as they are effective, but in the end, the Inquisition is neither savior nor destroyer. It is a force that acts without hesitation, without question, and without compassion. Its singular purpose is survival, no matter the cost. In the heart of the Inquisition lies one question, a question that echoes through the halls of power and across the battlefields of the galaxy. Is the Imperium worth saving, no matter the cost? The Inquisition's answer is clear. To preserve the Imperium, to ensure that humanity endures in a galaxy that would see it erased, there is nothing that cannot be sacrificed. Worlds are erased, lives are destroyed, and entire histories are wiped from existence. The Imperium's survival comes at a terrible price, but the Inquisition believes that price is worth paying. It does what others cannot. It acts swiftly, decisively, and without remorse. When the stakes are high, the Inquisition does not question the morality of its actions. It sacrifices in the name of survival, knowing that without such actions, humanity would be overwhelmed by the enemies that seek to annihilate it. But the cost of survival is not easily understood, and the line between what is necessary and what is damnable becomes blurred. The Imperium may live, but at what price? The Inquisition's war is not fought on the battlefield alone. It is fought in the hearts and minds of those who wield power, and in the souls of those who serve. Every decision made in the name of survival is a step further away from the humanity it seeks to protect. The price of survival is not just measured in lives lost, but in the erosion of the very values that once defined the Imperium. Every action taken in secrecy, every life sacrificed, brings the Imperium closer to becoming something unrecognizable. Whether the methods of the Inquisition ultimately preserve humanity or doom it to endless suffering is a question that remains unanswered. The Inquisition operates in the shadows, unseen by those it protects, and its true cost is never known to the people of the Imperium. The sacrifices it makes are invisible to those who benefit from them. But one thing is certain: the Inquisition will continue, driven by the need to protect humanity at all costs. The price may be high, but it will always be paid, because for the Inquisition, survival is not just a goal, it is an imperative.